Man.
Well, speaking of our government, has the National Guard been deployed officially yet, or
So
have people just been seeing those trucks coming in?
So one video that we saw
they're here.
and posted was an older video, but it's funny that older video hit the same day that a newer video hit.
So I'm on 55 north, passing exit 40. I just passed like 50 Humvees, all heading north, like probably towards Chicago, and there's just a sea of them.
Wherein a guy was driving, and I posted it from, I think, my personal and the Facebook, where a guy was driving. He said for 20 minutes he was just driving nothing but Humvees next to him. And what I do find most interesting is I've been seeing some really funny memes from like military people that are like, now where things really get fun is where you find out you don't actually need a key to drive those.
Right.
So I guess you turn it like goes into a mode and essentially warms up, a little wait light hits, and then once the wait light goes off, you turn it again, that bitch is ready to go. You don't need keys because obviously in wartime scenarios that would be terrible.
Yeah, you want to get up out that jam real quick.
Yeah.
So I do. So
like a lawnmower.
It does look as though the National Guard is here. And from my understanding, Steve, because you have the most military background here, could you give us a better understanding of what the National Guard does in scenarios like this?
Yeah, so in situations like this, a lot of people tend to be up in arms just because of historically what it meant to have the National Guard activated in your state or in your country. But the National Guard is really ran by the state. So Governor Blagojevich actually has control over the National Guard.
Pritzker.
Pritzker.
What they call him, Big Money Blago?
Yeah, I was just thinking about him too because
he got out recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
Looking like Cisco from Drew Hill. Excuse me. Governor Pritzker has control over the National Guard, but basically what they would be sent out to do is to help, really, in general. I was on a couple deployments when we had...
How so?
So, I was going to give an example. I was on a couple deployments in Illinois where there was flooding. National Guard people throw sandbags to try to keep houses, lives, people from getting hurt, things of that nature. In this particular situation, we have a lot of civil engineer, Army units in Illinois. They're probably going to go build hospitals like right now as we speak.
Okay.
They're building like makeshift hospitals or the kind that you would see during wartime.
Right. What China did with like in 10, 12 days of like a 10,000 patient hospital.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. So the ones that the National Guard builds, I don't know if they're going to be to that extent.
Right. We probably don't need it.
But at least like 500 people or so, you know what I'm saying, in order to support that. And the reason why we're doing it is because New York just saw crazy influx of coronavirus cases, like real bad ones,
So,
coming to New York.
The Surgeon General released a statement today, earlier today, saying that we should expect to see things
they said
get way worse.
The virus spreads exponentially. It doesn't multiply.
Fast.
It doesn't, there's no, like, it's exponential.
Right.
1 to 2, like.
Right. The problem is too that you can have it and not have any symptoms. That's the one crazy part about it.
That's the biggest problem, really, because all of us, we're in the age group and specific demographics wherein more likely than not, even if we were to contract, we could have contracted it and gotten over it by now, or if we were to contract it, we may not display symptoms, or we could just be carriers and not display any symptoms, and where the problem comes into play, we all have older loved ones that we care about, and we have to keep these things in mind because we could be infected, and wherein we may not show any symptoms, we could be getting our loved ones sick.
Exactly.
And when they talk about social distancing, it's like, it's difficult to say to anybody, don't go around your mom, don't go around your aunt or your grandma. But at the same time, you got to think about, what's your exposure been? What's the odds that you could have contracted something? Have you been tested? If not, you might want to play it safe.
Yeah.
And we just want to, say that to make sure that for our younger listeners or our more impressionable listeners that we are, if you think at any point in time we're telling you guys to do anything, the only thing we're saying is listen to the health officials.
Right.
Yeah.
Just be safe. Just pay attention. So the National Guard is probably here just to build some hospitals to help in any kind of way.
What do you think about all the martial law hysteria?
I think it's unfounded. Martial law usually isn't enacted unless there's violence. And the martial law is to kind of get control of the people. And the civil unrest, I should say, not violence. I should just say civil unrest. We have seen martial law enacted in other countries and in other places just for protests on larger scales. For example, previously in Hong Kong, in the last couple of months, they
Yellow Jacket protests.
Yeah.
Right, in France. That would be a reason to do martial law. And what that is when basically the military takes over your street. You don't have police.
Yeah.
You have military people driving around governing civil laws and things of that nature. So
Yeah, but aren't we one of the few countries with the right to protest?
we do have the right to protest, but unfortunately, in recent months and years, it's starting to look a little bleak for us, because we've seen a lot of protesters arrested, especially during the Black Lives Matters movement. A lot of protesters being murdered at the same time. So
A lot of those Black Lives Matter protesters from like St. Louis, the activists,
They're gone.
a lot of them popped up dead over
Yeah.
the last like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's some conspiracy theories about all that stuff too, which I think there is some credence to it. But at the end of the day, you just gotta stay vigilant, y'all. Like, just keep your head on the swivel right now, especially in times like this. We gotta stick together.
So you're saying for now the freak out is unwarranted?
Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
no reason to freak out right now. Generally, the National Guard is they're what they call weekend warriors, right? Like they used to call us that all the time. They actually go to your schools. If you're in college, you probably know somebody in the National Guard. Like these people still like rock with you.
Right.
Like they at your party, y'all studying together. The only time they get called up is during wartime or times like this. So
You know,
show
my
'em some
brother,
love. Yeah.
who used to edit some of our original content, he's actually going to be leaving for training camp in a couple weeks.
Oh wow, okay, that's what's up. What branch?
National Guard.
Like air or?
I have no idea. Didn't even know there was multiple branches to
Oh, yeah.
National Guard.
I was in Air National Guard, but yeah, that's cool. That's what's up.
So were you not in the Air Force?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force too. So when I get activated, I would be part of the Air Force unit.
Could they still activate you?
No,
No.
Because you're out.
and I've been out for a certain amount of time. Plus, I'm also above the age threshold.
Yeah, you owe.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
33.
Yeah.
I think it's 33 or 34. I believe is what it is.
That's cool.
So guys, we did see also over the weekend, and this is eventually I do want to start a segment called Chicago We Got to Do Better, but the CPD had to break up 2 large
Oh,
parties
man.
over the weekend.
Oh, word.
Do we know what it was at? You know what it
No, I know that I know people who actually had parties. I don't know if those got busted up,
Oh, wow.
but
What do you think about that? I mean, how do you like? Do you feel like?
I, on one hand, completely understand why a bunch of 20-somethings or, younger people who really don't feel at risk really have looked at it and understand that 97% likeliness they'll be good. I understand why they wouldn't want to be confined and cooped up and, like, all of a sudden they wouldn't want their plans to be ending at the drop of a dime. They gave us basically 24 hours notice on this shutdown.
Right.
But then at the same time, none of us are health professionals, man. We don't know how bad this is going to get. We don't know if it's something that they're not telling us. We don't know anything outside of what the news is saying. And they're saying, look, it's probably not a good idea for a bunch of you people to be together in the same place, at the same groups larger than 10.
Right.
We probably shouldn't be. So, I don't know, man. I'm conflicted. Like, I get not wanting to freak out. I get no hysteria. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not really one to gamble with my life. So, I don't know.
It's irresponsible for sure. Like
I take enough gambles.
we
True.
we want to get past this so that we can have that going out, that social interaction like we used to have it.
Right.
So just if it means sit down for a little while, sit down.
A lot of people don't know how, and we also need to think like about the ramifications of us ignoring them.
Right.
Because if we ignore them now, another 5 weeks, another 6 weeks, and then they're like, look, this is a full shutdown. No business is operating.
Right.
Nothing. Not even the essential businesses outside of healthcare and growth. Well, I mean,
Healthcare, you got to provide.
healthcare
you can't
has
tell
to,
people
but
you're not gonna go.
like, I don't even see them being able to shut down grocery stores. But if grocery stores are open, then that means people can go out.
But a lot of healthcare are doing virtual.
Right.
They're doing
Checkups,
they're doing
yeah.
virtual checkups.
That's dope.